Tuesday, the 21st of July, 2026, emissions are not falling. Temperature rise. For many years, alarms have been raised about the temperature rise. Forest fires and methane releases in the Arctic contribute strongly to the temperature rise and to the danger of the clouds' tipping point getting crossed, as discussed in an earlier post. On July 20th, 2026, the world, 60 degrees minus 60 degree, 0 minus 360 degree, sea surface temperature was 21.007 degrees Celsius, a record high temperature for the time of year and 0.88 degrees Celsius higher than 1982 to 2010, as illustrated by the image below by Climate Reanalyzer based on NOAA OIST V 2.1 data. The inset shows sea surface temperature anomalies versus 1991 to 2020 on July 20th, 2026. High sea surface temperatures are a major cause of sea ice decline. The sea surface temperature anomaly forecast below is for January 2027, a time of very rapid melting of Antarctic sea ice. Image from earlier post. Clearly, politicians must take drastic action that includes action to increase resilience and action to reduce emissions caused by people. Yet, is effective action being taken? Sadly, it appears that politicians are not taking the necessary action and that, as a result, emissions are rising. From earlier post, discussed on Facebook, greenhouse gases. Rising greenhouse gas concentrations have been rising since 1750, as illustrated by the image on the right. Carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide have been rising rapidly, while methane has been rising even more rapidly. More methane threatens to erupt from the seafloor, as discussed in earlier posts such as this one and this one. The 2026 El Niño is strengthening and sea surface temperatures are already at a record high for the time of year, as illustrated by the image below. Ocean heat threatens to destabilize sediments at the seafloor of the Arctic Ocean, causing massive eruptions of methane contained in those sediments in the form of methane hydrates and free gas held underneath these hydrates. Concentrations of gases. Image below, dated July 21st, 2026, shows carbon dioxide concentrations at Mauna Loa, Hawaii. Wow. Concentrations should be coming down at this time of year due to seasonal changes. Recent concentrations are very high, with one recent flask reading exceeding 442 parts per million. The image below, dated July 21st, 2026, shows carbon monoxide concentrations at Mauna Loa, Hawaii. There is a huge spread in recent readings, which may reflect forest fires. The image below, dated July 21st, 2026, shows hourly average methane concentrations at Utqiagvik, formerly known as Barrow, Alaska. The image below, dated July 21st, 2026, shows hourly average nitrous oxide concentrations at Utqiagvik, formerly known as Barrow, Alaska. Sadly, the images indicate that concentrations of greenhouse gases are not falling, they are rising instead. Forest fires are striking across the globe, which contributes to forests turning from carbon sinks into carbon sources. Furthermore, forest fires come with huge releases of carbon monoxide that deplete hydroxyl, in turn extending the lifetime of methane, as discussed in an earlier post. Fossil fuel subsidies and investments. Meanwhile, fossil fuel companies are planning to extract more natural gas. The IEA estimates that around $1.2 trillion is set to be invested in oil, natural gas, and coal in 2026. Natural gas investment is projected to rise to $330 billion, the highest level in a decade. The IMF describes two different types of fossil fuel subsidies: explicit subsidies when the retail price is below a fuel's supply cost, and implicit subsidies when the retail price fails to include external costs, inclusive of the standard consumption tax. External costs include contributions to climate change through greenhouse gas emissions, local health damages, primarily premature deaths through the release of harmful local pollutants like fine particulates, and traffic congestion, accident, and road damage externalities associated with the use of road fuels. Conclusion: the situation is dire and unacceptably dangerous, and the precautionary principle necessitates the danger to be acknowledged while facilitating rapid, comprehensive, and effective action to reduce the damage and to improve the outlook where needed in combination with a climate emergency declaration, as described in posts such as in this 2022 post and this 2025 post, and as discussed in the Climate Plan Group